Hi, I am Jack Roja. I'm here and I'm actually getting ready to do a photo shoot, and I like to do videos on various subjects while I get ready to shoot. And it occurred to me as I was pulling out all of the various pieces that I'm going to use tonight that this is a really good opportunity to take the time to do a video about my cosplay nights. I do, of course, want to point out that these videos relate specifically to the Castle Cosplay Night events. These do not necessarily apply to any events that I do out of the Tampa Bay area or any of the events that I host specifically for the video gaming track in DragonCon. Now, the history of cosplay is really pretty simple. In 2015, I was unable to go to DragonCon in Atlanta, and I was super sad about it. I was going through a divorce. I was not having a good year, and it really made me sad that I couldn't hang out with my friends in cosplay and just, catch up. So I had this idea. I affectionately call it my temper tantrum, where I posted on Facebook and I said, hey, who wants to dress up? Like, who wants to wear cosplays and go to the castle and just dance and laugh and have fun and enjoy things? And management picked up on it and they really liked the idea, and now all these years later we do twice a year. I have a winter installment, which is usually in February. I try not to do January just because it interferes with other local events happening in Tampa. And then the summer edition is usually in July or August. It really just, again, depends on what else is going on in Tampa at the time, what else is happening at the castle, because I really just want it to be as hassle-free and smooth and easy as possible for everybody involved. I myself have been cosplaying since 2011. I started out actually making costumes for my go-go sets at the castle, and then I realized that it was just as much fun to wear these costumes off of the go-go boxes, and it all just kind of went from there. So that's been a big chunk. I mean, the last 10 plus years of my life have been dedicated to this, and I am always one of the judges, of course, and I'm always joined by two people or two sets of people. Sometimes it's a single person, sometimes a duo or a small group, and we get together and we decide winners of a number of categories, and each one of them gets an award. And you might have questions about the awards, so I am going to go down the list of awards that we'll be giving out, and I'm going to go over them in the order in which they're presented at the actual event. And the first one that we present is called Commitment to Excellence. And Commitment to Excellence was actually originally created with a very specific person in mind. This person was Jasmine of Jasmine and Rose Cosplay. And she was just showing up and knocking it out of the park every time. Like, she was just winning awards at like every single installment. And I realized that people who do this need and deserve to be recognized. So the Commitment to Excellence Award is pre-selected by me, and it's somebody who is just consistently excellent, like the award announces. So sometimes it's somebody who just has a really good track record at the events. Sometimes it's somebody who is passionate about using cosplay for charity purposes, and so on and so forth. And that one is always fun to give to, and that's always the first one that we give out, because there's always a little speech that goes with it first. And of course, moving on with this list of awards, next up is the honorable mentions. We do anywhere from 1 to 6 honorable mentions. Really, it just depends on if one of the recipients is a group, then that cuts down on the number of actual awards given out, but it's always between 1 and 6. And all of the judges have to agree on who gets these awards. That is one that we all have to be unanimous. And it's somebody who did a great job. Maybe they didn't quite land in one of the other categories, but they deserve their time on stage. And then that's why we do the honorable mentions. next up in line is the award for Most Creative. Now, Most Creative is a really broad award that can go a number of different ways. Ways that they have gone in the past were we had someone who did a costume with an interesting material, or if they've done an original character, like say, you know, they write a book and they built their description of their costume based off of the description that's in the book, or if it's a character from like a podcast, like we had somebody from Critical Role one time get it, and that is going to be an award that everybody has to agree on. Like really, we all need to agree that this person really nailed that category. Now, the word that is next up doesn't always necessarily happen. And this part of the presentation is where we include any awards that are theme specific. So, you know, if it's a Marvel versus DC theme, we're gonna have Best Marvel, Best DC, you know. If it's gonna be something like a general company, like say we do one that's, you know, it's BioWare theme, like someone who does the best BioWare character, and so on and so forth. This isn't going to be very common, but if it does happen, if it is presented, this is the part of the night where it's going to be given away. All right, the next series of awards that I'm going to talk about are really fun because these are the Judges' Choices Awards. And the Judges' Choices Awards do not have to be agreed on because every judge gets their own. So for example, I get to make my judge's choice without having to justify it to the other two judges, or, you know, however many other people I have on board with me. And those can be for any reason. It can be a character you like, it can be a specific talent that the person demonstrated that you really liked, or, you know, maybe it's a costume that made you laugh, like maybe it's a joke costume, anything like that. That's where we get those Judges' Choices Awards in. This next award was a late addition to the roster, and quite frankly, we added it to the roster because I won it at DragonCon in 2017 at the video gaming costume contest, and it's Best Screen Accuracy. And Best Screen Accuracy is exactly that. It's whoever took the original source material, comic, TV, movie, video game, any of that, who took the original source material and translated it to their costume the best. This is not going to be an award that's given to somebody who did a fan art stylization. It's not going to be someone's original version. A good example would be Harley Quinn. This would not be given to your own interpretation of Harley Quinn. There's nothing wrong with your interpretation of it. This is specifically loyalty to the original source material. Not too many more awards. The next award that will be given out at the event is Best Duo or Group, and that's another one that's pretty self-explanatory. This is a duo or group that really just brought their A game to the table. Like a good example would be, I believe we had a Teen Titans group one time that really nailed it. We had the duo from Crybaby one time that really nailed it. And this is a lot about this is appreciation for the organization that it takes to work with another person when you're cosplaying. And I don't do that a whole bunch. I don't work with people a whole lot. But the 2 or 3 times that I've done it, it can be really, really, really tricky, especially if you have to work with like matching materials or, you know, similar paint. Like you have to use the same shade of gold paint or else it just doesn't quite pop the way it's supposed to. That's going to be the people who get the best duo or group. And of course, the last award that will be handed out will be Best in Show, which is really, it doesn't have to be one person. We've had duos win Best in Show before. The two do not overlap. So you're not going to win Best Duo or Group and Best in Show. That's not going to happen. The only awards that would overlap would be if that installment has the theme specific. So like if you got like best Marvel or best DC, you would be eligible for another award. But the theme specific ones, again, like I said, are the only ones that ever overlap. And the best in show and best duo categories both have cash prizes. Best in show takes home $200, best duo or group takes home $100. So I've told you what you can win, but what can you wear? I do have to run through the whole like unofficial legalese that's not technically legalese, but we're gonna act like it is legalese. And we're gonna start with costumes have to be street legal. So if you're not sure what street legal is, look up what the local Tampa guidelines are as far as things like nudity, masks, hoods, things like that. Hate symbols of any kind will not be admitted in. I don't care if it's cosplay. I don't care if you're a Wolfenstein cosplayer. I don't care if you are cosplaying the Fraternal Order of the Raven from Bioshock Infinite. Just don't do it. It's not allowed in. If you're not sure if it's allowed, wear something else. It's not hard. Any weapons that you carry with you, like that, prop gun, blaster, shotgun, anything like that, they have to have orange tips. There's no projectiles allowed, and no real bats or blades. So Harleys, Negans, your bat has to be foam or plastic. It can't be real. Sorry. If you are wearing a cosplay that's like a military or a law enforcement or similar type uniform, it has to be distinguishable from official uniforms. If you're not sure if you can do that, you got it. Wear something else. Now this one's kind of it should be a no-brainer, but I do have to say it because it's happened. Shoes are required at the club, and you are required to keep them on at all times. Open-toed shoes are allowed, but quite frankly, I don't recommend them. There's big, stompy goth boots that are happening there. You're just asking to get your feet crunched. Skates are not allowed. So if you're going to do like a Harley or a Lucio or whatever, find a way to mimic the skates or just wear a totally different shoe altogether, because skates in a club, especially with stairs, are this one is a big no. The castle is very strict on drug use. Drug use is not permitted. Even if you have your medical card, can't do it in the club. We're not there yet. This is a society. You can't use your weed in the club. Wherever you use it, that's not my problem. You can't do it in the club. Any other drug use, if you're caught using any sort of drug, you will be removed from the club immediately. Okay? Don't do it. You got to be 21 to drink. You have got to be 21 to drink. Buying drinks for your 20-year-old friend isn't cute. It's illegal. It's how clubs get shut down. Don't do it. They're not playing around. Also, speaking of having to be 21, you have to have your ID to come into the club. What kind of ID works, you might ask? Your state-issued driver license. Some people don't drive, but they have this state-issued identification card. Military ID works, whether you're the actual active participant or if you're the spouse or whatever, as long as it has a face, a name, and a birthday, and it's one of those things, you can use it. A lot of people don't realize that you can use your passport. Your passport does count in this case. You cannot use a photo on your phone. I don't care. You cannot use a photo on your phone. The club is not TSA. Okay, the club has to answer to a thing called ATF, which is alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. And ATF says you have to have a photo ID on you to enter the premises. In advance, make sure you put it. I know sometimes you gotta change purses or hip belts or whatever to go with that costume. Make sure you put your ID in. When you put your money in, put your ID in with it. Keep it all together. You can't use a photo on your phone. You can't have your mom vouch for you. You Can't use your birth certificate. Can't use your Vax card. None of that works. Has to be driver license, identification card, military ID, or passport. Another really, really common question that I get is, what if you're underage people at the club get X's on their hands? They don't get a special wristband, they get giant black X's. Those X's have to show at all times. So if you are a stormtrooper and you are 20 years old, pick a new costume. If you are 20 years old and you are Spider-Man, pick a new costume. You get where this is going. If you are underage, your X's have to show at all times. So even, you know, costumes with the cute gloves, your hand has to be showing at all times. If you have maybe like an opera length glove, which is up here, and this is all exposed, the person at the door may or may not be willing to do your X's on your upper arms. I can't speak for them because it won't be me on the door. Honestly, just pick a costume where your hands show. Please make it easier for all of us. Just pick something that'll have your hands show. Okay? Another really super common question that I get is, do I have to be in costume? Nope. You don't have to be in costume. Will I have to pay an extra party pooper fine if I go to the door and I'm not in costume? Nope. Same price for everybody, whether you wear a costume or not. The only difference, I really just did that. The only difference is that if you want to be in the costume contest, you have to be in costume. That's really the only stipulation. But otherwise, I just want people to show up and have fun, whether they have the costumes or not. Maybe they're new to cosplay. Maybe they haven't done it at all yet. I'm gonna welcome everybody. I know there's still one major costume that I have not answered yet, and I'm waiting on purpose because I'm gonna make you sit through this whole video. Cover, the cost is going to be the same for all ages. So I'm not doing split pricing, but the price is gonna vary based on which installment. I do try to keep it reasonable, but that's going to be something that you're going to want to refer to the specific event page and see what the cover is for that. That's going to be the same also for what DJs will be present. We do have our own house DJs that we love very much, and it will usually be them, but sometimes things happen. If you want to know what DJs are going to be there, that will also be specifically in the FAQ section and in the, I believe it's the discussion part of it's going to be one of the first things you see on the event page. Another big thing that I cannot drive home enough is the people that I work with at the club are like family. And ultimately, they have bills, they have family, they have everything. And while it's really cool that we all get this opportunity to hang out and have fun and dress up, they are still working. And I would consider it a personal favor if you tip them generously, because a lot of times they have to buy costumes for events like this. They don't have them. I don't really work with a lot of cosplayers. So not everyone has costumes lying around, so a lot of times they have bought things especially for it. I know for a fact one friend of mine actually does buy stuff for every cosplay night, and it's just the right thing to do. Tipping is just the right thing to do, always. Like, you know, it's a way for us to thank them for how hard they have to work for these events, because let me tell you, we turn it up to 11. All right, now here's the small novella about how the costume contest works. And I'm gonna try to give you as detailed information as I can. So I'm gonna go very slowly from start to finish of the process of the costume contest, okay? So the number one question that I get asked leading up to the event and at the event is, how do I enter the costume contest? People are used to costume contests running a certain way, especially if they've entered at conventions. They're used to having to show up at a certain time and fill out forms and everything like that and go before judges and all that. And that is a perfectly valid way to do costume contests, but we have some constraints when we have an event at a nightclub. It's loud. There's not a lot of space. I mean, there is space, but it's not designed for costume contests. It's not like a con. So it doesn't work the way that a costume contest works. And people will ask me, they say, how do I enter the costume contest? And this answer is going to sound really unhelpful, but hear me out on this one. The way you enter the costume contest is literally just by showing up. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's just by showing up. Because what's going to happen is all night we are going to be walking around looking at everyone's costumes. We might ask you questions. And we are just going to base our decisions on who is there. You don't have to go through this big elaborate process. You can literally show up, have fun, dance, and then lo and behold, 1:30 is the costume contest. Now, there are a couple of options if that's not quite close enough for you. And what you can do is there will be 2 half-hour segments in different places in the club where I will be stationary for 30 minutes. The first one is always 11:30 to midnight in the dungeon, whatever that themed area will be. And I have an assistant actually who walks around the building with these big signs that will tell you what time these segments are and what room in the castle that they'll be in. Every room in the castle is going to have its name. So, like one time it was, the Hellfire Club, and another time it was, I think it just happened to be Gotham City another time. there was a Tamriel room. It's been all over. And all of the rooms will be labeled as well. So look at the name on the sign and then find the room with the appropriate name. But it's always 11:30 to midnight dungeon, and then 12:15 to 12:45 up in whatever room, whatever the room theme is in the red room, which is when you go upstairs, top of the stairs, straight into the room in front of you. So of course, the natural end of all of this is the actual costume contest itself. And this part I'm a little strict on. I'm pretty loosey-goosey and chill about everything else, but this part I'm really strict on. If you want to be eligible for an award, you have to be there. You can't duck out of the club at 1 and then get your award, pick it up from somewhere. You can't do it like that. That's not how it works. You have to be there. You have to be in the club and you have to be in the ballroom. You have to be upstairs. Again, my assistant will be walking around with a large sign. The costume contest is at 1:30. We're pretty punctual. It's only run late once ever, I think, at the time that I made this. But we're pretty good about doing it on time. And it will be at 1:30, and you have to be in the ballroom. I have literally given awards to other people because the original recipient wasn't there. It might sound mean, but we make this really, really easy for you. You have to be in the ballroom. And that will also be labeled. So it'll say on the sign, it'll say what the main room theme is. And there will be signs, directional signs, saying it's upstairs, whatnot. You have to be there. Have to be there. The only award where you do not have to be present is Commitment to Excellence. And that is only because that one is decided ahead of time. I don't know that the person is necessarily going to be there. Commitment to Excellence will still be presented. It'll still be announced. Everybody else, you have to be there to win. Yeah. And we may even, if we like your costume, we may tell you to go upstairs. It doesn't mean that you have won, but it's a pretty good sign that you're a finalist. Like, you may not win, but you definitely were talked about, if that makes any sense. And that's it. It is that simple. I have lipstick on my teeth. Oh no, I have lipstick on my teeth. But it's that simple. It's that simple, and we have a lot of fun. And I hope that I get to see you. If you saw this video, if you know, it hit your algorithm, let me know if I talk to you at the event, just so I know whether or not this is as effective of a means of giving that information as I'm hoping it was. Because I know sometimes on the phone, that FAQ area, sometimes it doesn't want to load or whatever. Thanks, Facebook. But hopefully this was helpful to at least a few of you. And of course, I look forward to seeing all of you at the next cosplay night.